Here in the second half of chapter 14 of Romans, Paul continues to build on the theme that God brings personal conviction into our lives and encourages believers to live in obedience to those convictions that God brings to them personally. And really what he is doing is guarding us from the idol of comparison. Culturally, it is easy to live our lives constantly comparing ourselves to others. We grow up doing this. What do my actions look like compared to someone else? What do my things, possessions look like compared to someone else? Sometimes we idolize somebody based on what they have or what they might be able to do or not do. But ultimately, Paul says, don't do that. Don't live idolizing people in a negative way. Don't live trying to justify yourself by figuring out who doesn't do something that you do, who you think might be sinful in their thinking or their actions, and trying to bring pride to your own heart. And so throughout this chapter, that's really the idol that he's addressing, is that idol of comparison. We ought to live in freedom from that as followers of Jesus. But then he goes on and says, with those personal convictions we have, our decision making is personal between us and the Lord and our obedience, but we ought to live with a communal mindset. That is, our decisions and our actions impact those around us. And so Paul really calls us to actions that bring peace and unity to other believers, to other people in our sphere of influence. Look at what verse 19 says. It says, let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification. So Paul is saying, if you have a certain freedom in an area, don't go about gloating that freedom, choosing to act in ways that might discourage others or discourage their faith. In the same way, if you have a conviction about something, don't go along with the crowd and just join in on that. If God brings that conviction to you, stand up for that and obey the Lord. And in doing this, we bring peace, we bring mutual edification to each other and encouragement to God's family. And so as we go about our day, let's think then how we can obey God personally, but be thinking about how communally we can build unity and peace, love into God's family. Ultimately, that is what we're called to, is to encourage one another, inspire each other in our growth, challenge each other to love the Lord more personally, and to be the light of the world as God calls us to.